Every product that is released on the market has a cycle of life just like we do and every living being has. It is called in terms of, well, marketing, it is called product fatigue. Now, this fatigue means that it is created, and especially in a consumerist world where every other, well, every day new and new products arrive, and especially more and more advertisements arrive, everything has its own life cycle. It appears, it has a period of, well, peak interest, and then it simply fades. It is the same with video games. Every time new video games appear, they are interesting until a certain time passes, and then, well, since other new games will flood in, people will simply go to others, or, well, new players will come to those others, and there's always a fight in between games. Now, companies don't realize that there is this term called product fatigue. In a world that is so sick, well, the truth scares people. The idea of ignorance is very strong. And ignorance means disregarding other people's feelings, simply doing literally everything to the detriment of others, inclusive. So, including that, people are capable of doing literally everything because there is this um, sensation that it's never enough. The egotistical approach to life, it's never enough. You must always chase beyond. Because ultimately, if you reach a goal in an egotistical mindset, there will always be a goal at least twice as higher. Because chasing an egotistical goal equates not achieving anything. Because it doesn't matter if you conquer the whole world, you'll want to conquer the whole solar system. Then you'll want to conquer the whole galaxy, then the whole universe. Then you'll be bored that there are no other universes to conquer. Or if you find others, you will simply want to invade those. So the point about many games is that the marketing design functions around both these mindsets that combined are nothing else than a pillar of ignorance. They are supported by ignorance and they support ignorance back. A feeling of lack, of never having enough money, and a fear of the business going down if you don't get more and more revenue, as well as coupled with the sensation that it's never enough. These are two separate pillars that function in the psyche, okay, in the human psyche. They may feel as if they are the same, but the wounds and the things supporting these can usually they are different. When it comes to product fatigue, people behave the same way. Instead of letting the game die or the product or whatever, they just prefer, you know, pulling more and more onto it and, you know, milking the fan base, the players of as much money as possible, instead of letting the game have a pleasant death. It was a nice game, maybe you can still keep working it, keep some small updates while creating a different universe centered on that idea, right? You can preserve the characters and you can make several other games, you know, to support the characters. Like, how about the same game but based on the point of view of another character or the opposite character? So when it comes to this, the same procedure towards life, the same insensitivity to life is that of keeping people tied to a machine. You have probably done this, or you are knowledgeable of people who are doing this. It is an inhuman way of treating life. Keeping someone who is really old tied to the machine so that they live a bit more is against the freedom of the energy of life within them. Because when life wants, it will leave the body. Now, the impulse is to leave the body when it feels like. However, the physical body may be weakened enough that they don't have the power to disconnect themselves from the machines. If they have the power, they will literally do it. It's not necessarily suicide in this case, because the life force within it demands it. It's liberation time for it. If you are keeping the life within that body for more than it had to, it is still bad karma that you're generating. You're keeping someone alive more than they should, but under what circumstances? Being tied to a machine in a bed while you can't move, even for a whole year, it's far more traumatizing than simply disconnecting yourself from the machines. You're not causing the body any damage by disconnecting, you're just allowing the body to reach the state in which it finally becomes incapable of supporting life so that life can move on. The level of insensitivity in today's life is so great, and this sick society does nothing else than support it, right? All the insecurities of people, if you support them, you simply support this 3D system of control, because you can easily control people through their insecurities, right? There are so many insecurities: sexual insecurities, social insecurities, mental insecurities, or well, confusion as people call it. There are many of these, and if you support any of these and any of the beliefs that linger around these, you simply have a lot of fracture, right? When you have fracture in society, you have people that are in different groups, and you only need at least two sides to have a war, right? Because once people are situated in opposing views, if they are ignorant, there will always be a war, because ignorants are always impulsive. They want results and they want them now. They can't have the patience to build up criticism, and obviously ignorance can't take criticism. So instead of pulling on to the game, why not simply let it go? Because the point is, it is no use. Once a certain threshold is reached, any game will simply fade from the consciousness of people, because you have to understand that the world is waking up. Playing video games in most situations is done because it is a drug activity. People are using video games as an excuse. They are using video games as a distraction from their pain. It's what I call the medicine effect. The medicine only makes your pain vanish, but it doesn't disappear. It's simply numbing your body down so that you no longer feel the pain, so you can resume what you were doing or what you wanted to do. That's the only difference. So the problem and as well as the pain are not gone. It's just that you're being numbed down. And when you're numbed down, you're technically weaker, not stronger. The fact that you don't feel the pain is basically the upside, right? Instead of the downsides that you also have a good point, that the pain is no longer bothering you. But when a video game becomes too frustrating and annoying, people only play it because there is still this huge karma in humanity that people are not good enough and they want to prove themselves to others. They want themselves to show that they are worthy, and obviously even at the expense, and especially at the expense of being abused. And the greatest abuse in this world is usually the abuse that you do to yourself. But this one becomes covered in ignorance by the mindset of victimization, because it's always easier to point the blame on others instead of taking your own responsibility. Because while not taking responsibility, you are ignorant to yourself. Because if you don't live well, the others around you won't necessarily. Even if they take great pleasure in your pain, imagine that for doing that, they are in their own pain, right? So all this being said, hopefully this video was introspective enough. You are appreciated. Take care of yourselves. Ferenc Jan Bauer signing out.